What's up guys, it's McNulty here. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. So 1st of June today, so summertime vibes. We haven't quite got the beach balls out yet in the base, but I'm sure that they'll be coming very soon. But what we do have is our new hero of the month, live and direct from the portal. So we have Aviana, who has just pitched up today. So we're going to have a look at this interesting looking lady. We'll see what she's all about and see if she is worth dropping a few pulls for during the month of June. So to start off with, she's obviously a holy hero and she's of the fighter class. We always like the fighter class because it gives the chance to revive, and we now have the master revive option. So just to recap, when receiving a fatal attack, 30% chance to revive at the end of the turn. If revived, the character gets 25% attack increase for 2 turns. The master talent's pretty minor with these heroes, but it is still a good effect, and it is still something a little bit extra that you can use to boost their stats. Obviously, she's going to be of the 2024 Legends family. We've got no idea what the bonus is going to be for them just yet. So I wouldn't worry about that if you're looking to pull this hero. She has a dual passive. So the first of her 2 passives she's going to get is going to be a resistance against bleed damage. Interesting because a lot of the owls give bleed damage. Funnily, so I guess, you know, it looks like an owl on her shoulder. I know it's supposed to be a falcon, but we can't see the rest of it. I'm sure it's a falcon, not an owl. But yeah, she gets a passive resistance against bleed damage. So heroes like Daroga, heroes like Varus, they're just going to damage her, but they're not going to do that damage over time. And also against heroes with obviously the bleed talent, so the barbarian class heroes, it's going to be a good idea to take her up against those kind of heroes because they're not going to have much of an effect on her with their bleed damage. In fact, they're going to have none. And then she gets this secondary passive where she gains 5% mana when she receives a buff or a positive stack. Now, that is a strong passive. We have seen it with like the War of Three Kingdoms heroes, but we don't often see that on the heroes of the month. So I think that is a pretty good passive. If you give this hero a buff, she's going to gain 5% mana. It's probably only second to healing and gaining mana, but there's very few heroes that can actually do that. So pretty good class. Nice resistance against bleed damage, but it is a little bit niche. And then a really good passive with the mana on buff received. So I'm quite happy about that so far. In terms of the way she looks, I don't know what to say. I really don't know where she comes from. She's like bursted into the champions arena, it looks like. But she's like some kind of steampunk cop with a falcon. Like, she's just a bit confused, to be honest. I'm not sure how I feel about this hero, but yeah, pretty confusing, but interesting. And then her ether talent, so let's just have a quick look at that before we get into anything else. She gets the special skill armor, or the special armor. So at the start of the battle, she gets 40% defense against special skills for 6 turns. It's a pretty decent passive effect for the ether talent. So, I mean, whether or not you're going to second limit break this hero is going to remain to be seen. I'd be very doubtful since she is a hero of the month. But, you know, we never know. So we'll have a look. Now, in terms of stats, stat-wise, we are expecting lower. So 957 team power is pretty okay. Obviously, the heroes of the month are less powerful than the new releases. And the new release heroes are somewhere around 1,050 team power at the moment. So about 100 less on the team power. So she's got 1,001 on the attack, 931 on defense, and 1582 on the health. So she's more of an attacking hero, high attack stat, pretty okay HP stat, and not the greatest defensive stat in the world, unfortunately, by today's standards. But, you know, if you single limit break her, she'll be able to keep the pace for quite a good while. Now, onto her special skill. So her special is called Falcon Screech, and she's running at average speed. So she will deal 300% damage to the target and nearby enemies, and the target and nearby enemies are immune to new status effect buffs for 4 turns. The caster and nearby allies get plus 50% critical chance for 4 turns, and the element link gives all holy allies 5% dodge chance for 6 turns. This effect can't be dispelled. All right, let's work through this special. I mean, first of all, 300% damage to the target nearby enemies at average speed. It's not a lot of damage. There was a time when that was a huge amount of damage at average speed, but nowadays you've got plenty of fast speed heroes that are hitting for that kind of damage to the target nearby. So I feel like the damage hit really could do with some work. It's not enough. I think she deserves at least 350, maybe 360 or something like that. Let's just push the heroes of the month just a little bit. But yeah, 300% damage really is not very much. The secondary effect, the target nearby are immune to new status effect buffs for 4 turns. That is a very useful effect. And in fact, I think she's an excellent counter to somebody like Ludwig, for example, because he gives his buff to himself and to the nearby characters. So you want him and the nearby to be immune for those are the ones that you want to be immune to the buffs. However, she's not going to work very well with everybody. She's not going to play well with everybody. She's not going to play well with characters that gives buffs to the entire team. She's not going to suddenly make your heroes effective against goblins because this isn't going to counter their effects. So she does have her limitations, but I would say specifically as a counter against teams where Ludwig is the tank, or you've got Ludwig on the opposition team, she's going to be able to shut him down perfectly. She's going to be able to shut the nearby enemies down as well in terms of their buff. So I really do like the effect. You can think of her similarly to Winifred. So Winifred does, I think it's 550, and the attack chains through all of the adjacent members, and then it gives for 5 turns the same immunity against to new status effect buffs. It's quite a handy effect, but you kind of want it to affect the whole team. Another hero I'm thinking about is somebody like Quinn. And in fact, her stats are almost exactly the same as the horrible pineapple barbecuing pirate. Sorry, that was a bit of a mouthful. The most disgusting sounding barbecue ever, and he doesn't have any hands. So there's a very funny thread on the forum about Quinn. If you haven't read it, I recommend that you should read it. A bit of toilet humor for you on the Saturday. But yeah, she's not going to be as effective as those heroes, though she is running at average speed, so maybe a little bit better than Winifred at countering somebody like Ludwig, but that's really the only area where I can see this hero shining a lot. In other cases, she will still be usable because it's nice to be able to shut down the buffs, shut down buff heavy enemies and, heroes that are giving buffs to the target and nearby. But yeah, she is a hero of the month, so she does have her limitations in that, but not bad at all. And then the caster and nearby getting 50% critical chance for 4 turns. It's a very rare effect, actually. Critical chance, I mean, aside from somebody like Gregorian, and then you've got Malia, who's at the 3-star level, we don't see critical chance that much. And, who's the other guy, that awesome looking dude? I've completely forgotten his name now. Ares. There it is. So yeah, Ares obviously with his critical chance buff. So it's a pretty good buff. It can be useful against Titans and things like that. I'd say to increase the damage and potentially tile damage as well. I think I would sort of want to use this hero alongside. She does really need a healer, so probably her with somebody like Costume to Li Zhu, and then a nice holy healer will make a nice trio. But yeah, she's pretty decent actually for a hero of the month. So I'm not mad at anything about that except for the damage. 300% damage is just far too low. The buff immunity for the target and nearby is really good. And the critical chance is really good as well. Elemental Link giving 5% dodge chance for 6 turns. I mean, it's 5%. It's really not going to happen all that often. But if it does, I guess it's something, it's a little bit of a nice effect. I'd really like her to have something else, but it is what it is, and that's what we get. So in summary, Best parts about this hero are the passive mana on buff received, the target nearby getting the immunity to new status effect buffs for 4 turns, and the probably I'd say the critical chance increase as well. But yeah, she's not a bad hero of the month. I think probably I'd give her a B grade. You know, safely, I think that she will be able to hold her own. And so, you know, if you do get this hero and you're struggling on your holy attack teams, I think she would be definitely a good addition to that. I wouldn't be putting her in on your defensive teams unless you really need to. But as part of an attacking team, I think that she will definitely have her uses, especially when you come up against Ludwig. So that being said, please do drop me a like and share in the comments what you think about Aviana. Let me know your thoughts. I'd be interested to hear if any of you get her. Yeah, good luck with your summons, and I'll see you all again in the next video. Bye for now.